Hey there everybody, this is Lee with Creative Two-Time Mom, and this video is going to be the books of the month for March of 2018. This video is part of a collaboration hosted at Mommy and Mia Homeschool Chronicles, and I will leave the playlist down below for you to check out all the contributors. I find that every month there are some great book recommendations out there, and my book list grows longer and longer. So make sure you check out the other participants' videos and leave them a comment about what you are currently reading. Now, I only have 2 books in front of me, and that was because the first 2 books that I read this month, I actually had to return to the library. So I did a quick video snapshot of those, which I will insert right here. I have a couple of books here that I need to return to the library that are due, and so I thought I would film this portion now, and later on in the video I will share with you what else I have been reading this month. The first one I want to share with you is called Playing Atari with Saddam Hussein, and it's based on a true story. This is by Jennifer Roy with Ali Fadhil? I'm not sure. This was on the new books section of our children's library, and I grabbed it thinking of my daughter. She loves historical fiction. So I just wanted to kind of preview it first and see if it would be something she'd be interested in. It's written at about probably a 5th grade reading level, and it is the story of this young man who was living in Iraq at the time of the first Desert Storm, I believe it was, when President Bush was in office, and Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. So this is really his tale of what he went through at the time. He was about 11 or 12, and what his family lived through, and then eventually coming to the United States. Pretty well written, especially for that age. Nothing too graphic, but just honest about the way that he and his family felt about the events that were happening at that time, and it really takes it down to a human level of not so much an us versus them, but just what the people went through that were living there. The second one is a book called Growing Up Social, and this is kind of a funny book for somebody who's in social media to be reading. I'm on Facebook all the time, I'm on YouTube all the time, and but the title really grabbed me because I feel like we are living in an age, we are parenting in an age that is unlike any other, in that our children have tons of access to not just technology, but specifically social media. And this book is by Gary Chapman and Arlene Pelican. And I was, again, very intrigued by the fact that it was by Gary Chapman, who a lot of you will know is the author of The 5 Love Languages. But let's just take a preview of the table of contents because there was so much information in here. So it's Too Much Too Soon, The Method of Raising Relational Kids, Affection, Appreciation, Anger Management, Apology, Attention, Shyness, The Brain, and on, Parental Authority. This book was really good. As much as I am very conscious of how much media my children consume, it still has gotten out of control in my house and still needs to be reined back in. But he just brought it down to a level of really putting it out black and white. This is what happens to your kids. This is what happens to their brain. This is what happens to their ability to empathize. This is what happens to your relationship with your kids. So as much as this was an odd book for somebody in my situation to be reading, I felt like it was really important. And I think it's definitely a must read for every parent out there, whether or not you are heavily involved in social media or not. Our kids are, and it's a huge part of our culture right now. So whether you have little ones, whether you have older ones, I feel like if you have younger ones, this is a great book to kind of prep and start developing your philosophy on social media. And if you've got older ones, this is a good way to just kind of refine that and bring things home again. This was definitely on my must-read list, and I'm passing it on to a few friends that I've mentioned it to that want to read it as well. So I'm returning this one to the library, but I've already told people they already have it on their holds list. This was a really good one. So those were the first 2 books that I read this month, and I talked about Growing Up Social and how it's kind of a funny book to be reading as you're on YouTube, but I hope that that will not turn you off, that if you have kids of any age growing up in this technological era, that you will check out that book. It really opened my eyes to just some of the ways that we as parents need to be aware of what's coming into our kids' lives. Not that technology is bad and that being social on social media can be bad, but that it just requires probably more vigilance for us as parents than has ever been necessary in ages past. So that was probably my favorite book of the month, and I do plan on trying to get a hold of it again. I've really encouraged a lot of the people that I know to read it, including my husband. So if it's one of those you can't get from your library, definitely try to get a used copy and read through it, because I think it's a super important topic that needs to be talked about more. It just really does. After those two, I moved on to a book called Stronger Than the Struggle. This is by Havilah Cunnington. And she is actually a kind of a local author to our area, semi-local. This book is about uncomplicating your spiritual battle. And I know that sometimes spiritual warfare can raise a lot of red flags for people. People are either super drawn and super passionate about spiritual warfare and see warfare everywhere, or people will throw up red flags and they're like fanatic. The word fanatic comes to mind. But I would like to encourage you that this book, I felt like, actually hit a good balance between those two camps. And that she's saying, yes, be aware there is spiritual battle in the world, but not everything that is a struggle in your life is spiritual warfare, that there are other factors happening, and that you don't have to shy away from spiritual warfare, but you also don't need to be charging toward it. This book was given to me by the publisher, and so I wrote a full review for that on the blog, which I will link down below. But I would recommend this one. I felt like it struck a good balance between those two philosophies, and really, I don't know, it's just kind of a good starting place if you're kind of dipping your feet into the idea of spiritual warfare and what that can look like in your life. So definitely recommend. Now, in years past, I have shared some of the things that we've read with the kids, and I haven't done that more recently, so I wanted to grab this book out of the car. We listen to a lot of audiobooks in the car. That's part of the way that we get so much good literature in our life. And a couple months ago, we read Shiloh, or listened to Shiloh by Phyllis Naylor, I believe. Phyllis Reynolds Naylor. And Shiloh is probably one of my favorite books to read with the kids. We've listened to it 2 or 3 times already, and I just feel like it's good literature, but it's also good life lessons. And I didn't realize that there was a sequel to it. So our library has Shiloh Season, which is the sequel to Shiloh. And again, lots of good life lessons, particularly if you have preteens. A lot of good family relationship. I like books that expose my kids to the fact that their parents are on their side, and there's not a lot of, I don't like a lot of parental conflict, because I like them to see that parents can be good role models and are there to help guide them through their life. I feel like there's enough parental conflict going on at that age anyway, that I'm looking for books that encourage that relationship, which both of these books do, and just some good life lessons about reasoning out right from wrong, and relying on the people who care about you, and knowing that it's okay to ask for help. Shiloh Season was a great sequel. Of course, read or listen to Shiloh first and then pick this one up. I thought it was going to kind of be a separate story, but in a way they complement each other really, really well. So that is what I read, or that we listened to with the kids in the month of March. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what was your favorite book, either from this month or from the past couple of months that you've read, because I'm always looking for good recommendations, although like I said, my list is getting longer and longer by the minute. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Don't forget to check out the playlist down below, and we will see you next time. Bye guys.